Hello everyone, Fred Galvan Jr. here again, and welcome to episode 4 of the Alton school bus accident. On our last installment of this series, we discussed what happened after the actual bus accident with the lawsuits, the fighting amongst the community, and among the attorneys, the trial of the Dr. Pepper truck driver Ruben Perez. Well, now what? Now we're going to discuss about all the problems left behind and what happened after all the dust was settled after over 30 plus years. We'll get into that after this. Many survivors purchased multiple cars and houses with their newly acquired wealth.
Yeah, I read several articles. What's interesting, and I understand. Some of the people I interviewed when I asked about the community reaction, they said, oh, it was fine, that they reached out, that they felt good. I'm not sure if they just didn't want to say anything negative about the community, but there are many interviews from back then about the community being torn apart, about monies being spent this way. One of the more tragic stories was one of the I think it was a brother or someone who passed, got some money and was driving in a sports car, had alcohol and drugs in their body, and was wrecked and killed.
Two survivors, of one of whom lost a sister in the accident, Efrain Cruz and Joe Vargas, died 3 years later in a cocaine and alcohol-fueled speed ride in one's new Camaro.
What's really interesting, as I mentioned, I was a paramedic, and one of my partners at one time responded to that.
No way.
And I don't remember the name. He's like, I can still hear the George Strait song playing on the radio because it was still playing when they got there. But I don't remember the name of the song, but yeah. And this is before I ever thought to write something about this. We were just sitting in the station, and we started talking about it. It's like, I was there, like I responded, I was there when the car was flipped over and all this stuff.
Unfortunately, this binge was funded by the settlement many received shortly after the bus accident. According to Efrain's friends, Efrain was never able to recover from his sister, Elda Patricia Cruz's death.
And that's why a lot of people would refer to it as blood money and stuff like that.
The riches drove friends and family members away. Those who did not lose children, who helped but lived the same gritty lives as before, are hostile and jealous. Raul Ortega, who lost his 15-year-old son, said, "They want you to lend them money," he said. "And if you don't lend them, they start talking." Soon, many of the families distanced themselves from the rest of Alton, living in seclusion in their new homes. Well, that's what Ortega said. The mayor was accused of brujeria. Someone did it by sending out handbills to front yards in Alton. In Spanish read, "We have to unmask the devil." Basically, kind of saying that what has she been doing with these funds? I found out what happened to these funds and what they did with the funds. But basically that she was, I can't even think of the word, but basically she was like
pocketing or mismanaging.
Yeah, or misusing the money. Yeah. I don't know how accurate that is, but I did read some articles where she actually used it for good. She may have given it to the school district for them to pass it out. And I'm putting the sources right here on top. But yes, that happened. The guy that ran against her in a mayoral election that year, Salvador Vela, was accused of the handbills. Zamora won by 9 votes, 208 to 199. He denied the accusations and refused to be interviewed.
Like negative politics gets that bad in the Valley sometimes, and just using any kind of negative connotation. We're very Catholic in this area, and to mention brujeria, to mention this, it's stuff that people believe in, and that's why she's evil. That's why the money disappeared, because of her character. So we throw that on her character, and it's, I guess, what they call dirty politics or whatever.
Uh-huh. Victor Navarro, former Alton firefighter, he is convinced that more could have been done to save crash victims. He feels he was ousted from the Alton Volunteer Fire Department and blackballed with other forces to protect the city from potential litigation. He struggled to find work in the years after and share his theories about the crash with everyone who would listen. Eventually, though, the memories, his frustration over that day, and the fact that no one would take him seriously became too much. he turned to drinking and drugs. On December 18th, 1998, fresh off a cocaine and alcohol bender, Navarro drove to his wife's workplace, dropped off his wedding band, then went back home and set their mobile home on fire. I sat down on the sofa and put a gun to my chin and thought, my life's not worth living anymore. The corruption, the oppression, it's too much. Navarro's father ultimately came in on time and, well, saved his son out of the burning mobile home. And despite the criminal charges that followed and continuing troubles with employment, the former firefighter says he has now found some measure of peace. I've been through all that and I'm still here. There's greater work for me still, he said. Now, one thing I do have to say about Mr. Navarro, a few years back, Dad was at one of the local hospitals in McAllen. He was having open heart surgery. I was a grad student at the time, and my cousin, who was also a grad student but at a different school, we were talking about our thesis, and mine had to do with this incident. And she was very interested, and I started telling her about my research and stuff like that. And we were there in the lobby of this hospital. In that same lobby, this man turns around and says, "Yeah, my brother was there. He was one of the first paramedics to be there." Mind you, I already knew all the names. I asked him, "Who's your brother?" Well, it was Mr. Navarro. Now, I already knew that he had not been doing well. You know, he had gone through, he had a few setbacks, if you will. And he's like, "Really?" It's like, "You think I could ever talk to him?" It's like, "Well, I'll let him know that you're looking for him." And so I guess he texted him or something. I don't know what he did. And I guess Mr. Navarro gave his brother the okay to give me the phone number. He put on a Post-it note, gave it to me. I was like, "Can I call him now?" "Sure." I called him. I mean, within a minute of us talking, he started sobbing that he's still severely scarred from this situation, from this incident. And I wanted to know so much more, but I was there. They were already calling us in. I had to go see what's up with Dad. I said, "Look, I'm going to contact you later." Bad luck. I lost that Post-it. I lost his phone number. So, Mr. Navarro, if you're out there, if you're watching this, I'm sorry I didn't call you back. I genuinely lost your phone number, and I'm sorry I left you hanging. Wholeheartedly apologizing to you. I'm very sorry. But I did lose that phone number, man. Like, what are the odds, man? You know, it doesn't matter what I did to get this story out there. Things kept going wrong. And just today, guys, no joke, the cameras have been turning off by themselves. Don't know what it is, but good thing I have like 12 batteries for all 3 cameras. So something's out there. The stars and the planets doesn't want us to tell this story, but I'm going to tell it anyway. Now, here's one quote that will stick with me forever. "I'm still searching for that." It's a sentiment many of those touched by the 1989 wreck still share now. The idea that despite all that has transpired since then, the mistakes, the money, the memories, the best way to honor those who lost their lives in the tragedy lies not in lawsuits, in grand gestures of charity, or memorial parks. It lies in how they live their lives. Their memories are always on my mind. What would their lives have been like? They never went to college, never got married, never had families. Me? I was given a second chance. Those are the words of Cinti Cantu del Bosque, who is now an attorney in Edinburgh, Texas. What do you think about that? I mean, because I find it to be very touching, very moving, because I think she is right on it. I couldn't agree with her more.
Yeah, I totally agree. When we talk about loss of life, they were young. Just the potential. It's not just loss of life, the loss of potential. Mm-hmm. There could have been doctors, lawyers, scientists, and
they could have contributed a lot to society. Yeah. Since then, school bus manufacturers have changed the design of the buses, which simplifies an escape from the bus in the event of an accident.
Buses now have hatches on the roofs. The windows are bigger. Some of them have whole sections that open. So there's many different ways that kids can get out. And when I was finishing the book, I just was like, let me find an instance where this helped. And it was like maybe a few months before I finished my book, this incident happened, but I'm sure there's others. It was just the first one that popped up. It was the most recent. A bus went off the highway and they hit a light pole. The light pole fell on the bus caught fire, and all the kids escaped through the hatches.
Wow. Let's pretend that the buses were still built the same way. You know, part of me doesn't even want to imagine it, man. But the thing is, it did change the way that the buses are made now. So that is one good thing that's come out of this. Yeah. Juan, thank you so very much, man. This is, you told me stuff that I did not know, and now we can put it close to this, you know, and let, I don't want to let this story die because it's an important story. And, you know, and the thing is, people learn a lot from this. You know, lives were lost, but so many people learn from this, and it's just, it tore a community apart and something brought back together. I know this event can bring up so many emotions for those that experienced it. Those that lost their lives, they're gone, but most definitely not forgotten. Let us all keep their legacy alive, folks. Let's not forget them. Take care, everyone.